When we think of ICM, I think of family. That's the word that comes to my mind, family.
I'd have to go with family.
This is an extension of your family.
Really the word that stands out is quality, ingenuity,
versatility.
When I think of ICM, the first thing that comes to my mind is integrity.
A can-do attitude coupled with honesty and integrity.
The integrity of our business and our people.
In 1983, the company I was working for at the time, Martin K. Eby Construction from Wichita, decided that they were going to get out of industrial construction. We finished the project we were working on at the steel mill, and they said, we want you to sell your house, pack your bags, and we want you guys to move to Wichita. You're going to be our next vice president. And the problem with that was we had been to Wichita.
We said, no.
No, but at the same time, the steel mill came to us and said, look, because by that time, I'd worked on every plant inside the mill. They said, well, if you'll go get some bonding and banking, we'll keep you busy.
I think I was one of the ones that suggested to him that we could use a good mechanical contractor in Pueblo.
I had met Keith Swordfigger.
You know, I used to work with Bernie, I think it was about the late 70s.
So I called Keith and asked him if he and Sharon would be interested in investing in a new company. They were excited about it.
And he and Pam started that business with basically almost out of their house. He really jumped in, worked his tail end off.
Our first project was the caster dummy bar rebuild. My first call was to Ken Fox. Kenny and I worked together for 40, I don't know how many years, because he was my millwright general foreman.
He was his work wife.
Kenny was my work wife. We loved Kenny. We were a good team because I was the guy who saw all the possibilities and Kenny was the guy who saw all the problems.
You were the optimist?
I was the optimist and he was what he called a realist.
Yeah.
I'm a realist, not a pessimist, I'm a realist. So Kenny was employee number 1 and Leoncio Gill, he was employee number 2. So the three of us then took on that dummy bar project and I started bidding work.
I think they did it in about a month and made good money on it. And then it just took off from there.
I love to be the problem solver. You know, don't tell me something can't be done because we're going to figure out a way to do it.
I remember back in the early 80s, we moved what's called a bag house. It's a big evacuation building, and it was probably 3 stories tall, about 150 feet long and 60 feet wide, and he moved it in one piece. He jacked it up about 20 feet in the air and put some equipment under it and carried it over to a new location and moved it.
We took a kiln out of a plant in Laramie, Wyoming. Large chunks of steel kiln. We put it back together in Boulder on Highway 93.
The project that stands out to me, I guess, was the arc furnace number 5 at the steel mill. Because Bernie and Ken had tasked me with estimating the foundation for that. And I felt like at the end of that, I had broken through with Ken and earned his respect. So that's why that one kind of stands out with me.
There's one job that really stuck out for me. Out of Comanche Power Plant, they had a conveyor that feeds the coal yard. I think we got a call like on a Saturday or Sunday saying their conveyor burned down and it's 100 feet up in the air. There were a lot of unknowns and just a lot of things we had to work through, as well as the elements on top of that, you know. So it was definitely a huge challenge.
I think all the projects are fun. There's the big ones that are the big successes that we talk about all the time, but it's all the little ones where you're having to think, you have to come up with a plan, and those are more of the ones where it's a challenge and you have to act fast. You have a quick outage window or shutdown window, or you have to get really creative to make everything work, and those are the fun ones. That's I think what really makes ICM.
What's really great about Bernie is he's got a lot of intuition about how equipment works. He's very brilliant. He really is brilliant, and what I like about him most of all is he brings in people to surround himself that are experts in their fields also.
It's the honesty they transact all the business with, whether it's from the individual on site to the project manager to Ed and all the office personnel, all the way through the process. They act with integrity.
He's the most honest contractor I ever met. Most contractors, their integrity is questionable, but Bernie's never was.
I've watched interns come on with our company who are now in management of our company. And that's been fun for me.
Started out as an intern, doing estimating.
Started as a estimator.
Bernie was at a job fair. He offered me an intern position. January 1st of 1999, I showed up for my first day of work, and the only person here was Joanne Morris. Doors were locked. I knocked on the door, and she kind of cracked the door and said, "What do you want? What are you doing here?" And I said, "I'm Ed Myers. I'm showing up for my first day of work." And she goes, "It's New Year's Day. Go home. Come back tomorrow." Bernie meant the second.
Bernie only hires the best, in my opinion.
When he interviewed me, he asked me what I admired about my dad. He was family-oriented, and that attracted me.
Coming up through the ranks, learning my trade, and stepping into the position I'm in now, I consider that a huge success.
Dave Montoya came on, I think, in 2009. He's by far the best safety director we've ever had.
I initially interviewed with Bernie thinking I was going to have a position at a construction site, and the position I was hired for at the time turned out to be safety director. So it was kind of a little bit of a surprise that I was being considered for that role. It's worked out great.
He got ICM safety to the point that in 2015 we qualified to become self-insured. Our safety numbers were incredible.
We're a cohesive group and we have common goals, and I think that attracts people to what the company's all about.
October of 1990 is when the steel mill filed bankruptcy. And I tell people when 80% of your cash and 80% of your business leave town on the same day, that's a bad day.
It's a bad, bad day when that happened.
We didn't follow suit and file bankruptcy. If we'd quit, the people that we would have burned, the suppliers and subcontractors and employees, and,
well, that's why we didn't
that's
file.
why we didn't file bankruptcy. That's why we kept going. We thought about it, and it would have been smart money to at that time, but in the long run, you know, to be able to say when we fill out a pre-qualification form, no, we have never filed for bankruptcy. Never.
I've seen him take a tremendous financial bath from other people and still move ahead.
We've never failed to complete a project, ever. And that's important. Do what you say you're going to do.
He's been knocked down like the rest of us in business and keeps popping up and gets stronger and better.
I was a good engineer and a good problem solver, but not a great manager. And so by 2004, we had grown, but there was always a line of guys at my door with problems for me to solve. And so I didn't have time to, go find the next customer or the next project. I was just always in the weeds with these problems on these individual jobs. And that May is when my son died in a car crash. Our son. That's when our son had an accident, died in a car accident. And I was out of it. There's one road to get out to the ranch where we lived, and it happened on that road, and I couldn't even drive down that road for 2 weeks. Just couldn't.
So what happened?
Kenny and Greg and all these guys, put their heads together, and basically they took the reins. And so when I was able to come back to work, there wasn't a line at my door. These guys were doing what they had seen me do for all these years, and they were doing it. It was a turning point in the company's history. It's a bright line in our history. They really stepped up. And I'm really proud of them.
We wouldn't be where we are today without
the Kleenex.
There were really hard times during those times. But you know, it was a time of drawing closer together as well. So I think good came out of some of the difficult times.
And I tell people it was the worst thing ever happened to me. Best thing ever happened to the business. You know, that's just the reality of it.
When I first met Bernie, I came down to call on him to sell labor. Through the years, we were competitors and allies, both, I believe.
Getting into the Denver market is kind of tough. And Dale Westbrook, the fellow that had founded Precision, had been working there for 20 plus 30 years, I guess, 30 years. And so he had a lot of good contacts.
Bernie and I talked about that and discussed the purchase of Precision probably 3 different times. And next to the last time was just a few months before the actual purchase.
When Dale decided it was time for him to hit retirement and ICM bought the company, kind of a good fit.
We had similarities in using the same manpower, but we also had similarities in the way we treated our people.
Between ICM and Precision Industrial, it was like looking in a mirror, very symmetrical.
I think the similarities were there in the ownership, in the core values, in the management. And so I think that's what made it a success.
We got Sarah, and that was great, and Sarah's done a really good job, and Rick, and from that standpoint, it was a win.
Well, it was very important for me and my management group to make sure that they had a place to go. It's very satisfying to know that ICM is doing quite well and that they are thriving.
We moved Jamie Hodges up there right away, and he's just done a really good job.
Everybody that came over from Precision, and then the people that came with me from Pueblo, everybody just gelled really well, and it's been awesome.
Bernie's probably one of the best men I've met in a long time.
I don't know anybody who would question his integrity.
He's just got that attitude to help everybody and anyone, anytime, any place. And a lot of times he just donates his time to do it.
Pam and Bernie have always been very philanthropic.
We got real involved in Rotary. EPIC, what is today called EPIC of Pueblo. 16 years with the Red Cross, Catholic Charities for 6 years. You know, it sounds like a lot of stuff. It really, it's over 40 years though.
Right.
It's never been about him. It's never been about Pam. It's about what they can do to make Pueblo a better place. And that's something that's been really cool.
Bernie has done so much, and you know, he couldn't do all this without Pam. So when I say Bernie, I feel like she's included in that.
He does most of it, but on the back.
She goes with me.
I pat him on the back and
she gives me more emotional support.
They come to Denver and they stop in the office. It's Bernie and Pam always swings in to say hi.
Isn't she beautiful? Yes. She looks good in the lights like this. Huh?
Ed Myers has given a goal for the next 5, 10, and 15 years.
We've always tried to diversify, keep spreading. So I want to keep spreading ICM's footprint. That's why we're working real hard on our airport resume. That's why we're working real hard on our Department of Defense, our DoD work. We see a big market there.
Every single one of us right now, we're in new territory, right? We've never been at this level of business before, and so everything's new to us. And I love that we work together and we kind of tackle these things as they come.
When Bernie decided to let go of the reins, I thought, how are we going to sell a project here? And how are we going to complete some of these more technical projects? And then when we lost Ken Fox, I thought, how are we going to complete these shutdowns out at the steel mill? I'm proud to say that the team here at ICM has always been able to find a way, and with the new talented employees that we have, we will find a way.
I know that this company will continue to be a legacy for him and Pam, but not only him and Pam, but the employees that help build this company.
Holding out to go from that lone individual to the company he is today 40 years later. He earned every step of it.